Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michael. I am the other half of Uplift Stitches along with Melanie, and this is a Flosstube extra for Uplift Stitches. And this is the one I'm going to be talking a little bit about my RPG character challenge that I'm hosting next year from January through December. So it's a year-long SAL. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the website that I created to host the SAL. I thought about doing a Facebook group, but I wanted it to be accessible to everybody. If people are interested in having a Facebook group, I could probably think about setting that up. So, if you are really interested and you want to be able to share your character progress on the Facebook group, let me know. I can certainly easily set one of those up. It's not that hard to do. But I thought I would create a website to host kind of information about the SAL that I'm doing. And it's sort of morphed a little bit, which I'll talk a little bit about at the very beginning briefly. But if you're not really interested in that, I'll skip ahead. You can skip ahead using the kind of the navigation in the video to get to the actual SAL information where I talk about that. But I'll talk a little bit about the website first, and then go into the SAL, and then I'll talk a little bit about how to give me feedback on the SAL or suggestions, and yeah. So without further ado, I guess I'll go ahead and get started. For information purposes, today is November 30th. So it is a Sunday and one of my last days before for going back to work from the break. So I want to make sure I get this recorded today. So without further ado, though, this is what you're seeing on the screen now is the homepage for the website I created. It kind of morphed, as I said, from being just about the RPG character SAL to kind of just a supplementary website for Uplift Stitches. So just the homepage gives a little bit about information about our challenge, our channel, and what the website's purpose is. Basically, it'll host like information about the SALs and challenges we've either are currently hosting or have hosted in the past, as well as information about chart customizations or substitutions, conversions that we may have done that people have at least expressed interest in, or that might be useful. So that's the main thing. There's a little about us information and contact information, but that's the main purpose of the site. Down below on the footer, there's the email address you can contact us at, as well as a link to our main Flosstube, as well in our Instagram accounts. So from there, you can look up at the top right. There's some navigation options. There's SALs and challenges, which is where all of our SALs are listed. And down below that, there is a direct link to the RPG character challenge, which I'll go to at the end of just kind of this brief overview. And there's like the chart customizations, which you see, the about us and the contact us. So if you go to the challenge page, you can see this is the RPG character challenge. But there's also like some other SALs that are currently ongoing. The Leaves Dream SAL that Melanie is hosting, the Snow Friend SAL, and then my Stitch the Wild Parks SAL to kind of support the parks. That's probably going to be ongoing for a while because I'm doing a big project for that. And some ones I've done in the past. So, but this is just information about those. The charts page just has, as you can see, just some information about the conversions we've done. If you're interested in those, you may not be, and that's completely fine. Just wanted to put it out there. I know I've had a few questions about this one. And then, just like I said, there's the About Us page and the Contact Us. And the Contact Us does have a feedback form for the challenge. That might change to a regular form when the challenge, or I might add that. I'm not really sure. That's kind of just an overview of the website. It's pretty simple and easy to navigate. There's not a lot of buried menus on that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and move on to talking a little bit about the SAL itself. So if you go to the RPG character challenge page, all this is information I'm going to be going over kind of verbally as I go over the sheet, but I did create kind of a text overview here of what the SAL is about, as well as, and this is also where you would actually get the sheet. There is a link to the sheet that you can then copy the Google form sheet. It's a Google Excel sheet, essentially a Google sheet that you just copy, and you can use that. You will need a Google account to use it, but it's a pretty straightforward. This is kind of let you get an overview of what it looks like, but I'll actually dive into the actual sheet itself. And down below, as I said, overview of how it works, how to earn points, the tracker that I've created on the sheet, how that works, and something about the aspects of the character challenge, and then information about feedback with another link to the actual forum for feedback. So I know some people are more text oriented, so I wanted to create this as well. But if you're not text oriented and you want to hear verbally with me kind of walking through the sheet, that's kind of what I'm going to be doing today. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and switch over to the sheet, and you can actually see what we're actually working with here. So this is the actual sheet that I've created. So this is kind of divided a little bit into sections. So on the very top here, where this is the actual monthly challenge, you'll notice December has 4 weeks listed. That's because each week is done individually, but the rest of them you just enter a score for the month. This is where your score for the month goes. Once you enter a score into here, this down section right below that is where you'll see whatever aspect of the character you created that month with your score. So there's a space for race and species. That's January. What class you end up choosing, your starting equipment, the skills you get for that particular character based on your score, and then there's your different attributes that you can get. So strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. These do have a minimum score of 3, and you start as a base human. And then there's a background you can choose from, and then your different trait, ideal, bond, and flaw. And these are actually separated from the background because most of this is kind of based entirely on 5th edition D&D, whereas the traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws, I created entirely myself, uniquely. So they're not at all what you would see that you would get with your backgrounds. They are selected from the list I have created. So there's other aspects I wanted to customize. I didn't really have time to create those and then kind of play test them to make sure they're balanced. This doesn't have any huge effect on actual mechanics, whereas some of the things like in backgrounds, or if I wanted to create unique classes, those all really have to be play tested and balanced before I can actually offer those up as something. Otherwise, you'll end up with a broken character that's either overpowered or underpowered, and it might actually negatively affect the experience playing. I really don't want to do that. So down below that, this is just a little information about each of the categories and all this does list some of the options that are available here. And then the point range you'll see for each of the categories. You'll notice the different traits that are only through 0 through 241. You can go above the max range, but you'll end up with whatever you get towards the max range. But any of these, they do have a base starting point, and then they'll just go up from there. But there really is no necessarily negative of having less than maximum, because you're just going to end up with a different character. So a different option from here, different option from here. So that is the left side of the sheet. This is just information for entering your score, and the rest of it is is entirely automated. You don't have to touch anything else over there besides entering your score. On the right hand side over here, there is the information for the monthly long challenge that you'll be working on. So what I have here is I have some cross-stitch categories, which in the text, I try to keep my language consistent in the text I created on the website with what's on the sheet here. So what you can see is these different categories, and the philosophy behind this particular the way I've set this up is it's all about whipping down to help you get through whips, and also about you fully finishing objects. So you can see here the first 4 categories are all very broad. So there's SALs, challenges, in-season stitching, out-of-season stitching. So every project you're working on will be either in-season or out-of-season. You're going to get points for that regardless, whatever project you're working on. And my suggested threshold for this is 300 stitches for each amount of points you would get. So if you put 600 stitches, you would get 20 points for this one. But you don't have to actually do the math for this part of it. The only thing you need to adjust is you need to figure is how many hundreds of stitches you put in, how many or thousands of stitches. The SALs and challenges, the suggested threshold is 500 for each of those. You could have a project that actually fits all three of these, in which if you did, say you did 300 or you did 500 on that project, you would get essentially 40 points, which is a fair bit. Down below that, though, there's these categories below that. There's a category below that, actually, the oldest whip. So this is trying to get you to work on your older whips. So if you put 500 stitches in your oldest whip, you actually get 25 points as opposed to 15. So again, this is your oldest whip. Let's try to get that moving along and moving towards a finish. And the categories below the top ones, so the top 5, the bottom 4 ones work slightly differently. You're not really you are counting stitch count for the first 3, but it's really based on the number of projects you have in that. So the number of barely started whips, which I'm just defining as 299 or less. I just picked a number, but based on that, you would actually lose 25 points. Any new starts you have that are more than 300, so you made a substantial start on it, but you're still going to, for adding to your whip count, you're going to lose 15 points. Again, that's not necessarily a negative thing. I want to try to stress that. This is not taking away what you're going to end up resulting in. It just means you're going to have a different character. But below that, I'm encouraging you to make finishes and to do fully finished objects. So if you do a finish that required at least 500 stitches, so not something that you can't, if you have a whole bunch of projects that need 100 or less stitches and you just finish all of them, you can't just rush and get a whole bunch of points. And that's in game design, that that's kind of the idea of preventing like a runaway, a broken aspect, a runaway aspect that allows characters to cheat the system essentially. That's kind of that philosophy. But if you have any finishes as well, and you fully finish them, so I know that's something that a lot of people struggle with, including myself. If you have things you fully finish, then you get 40 points for completing that fully finished object. So I realize there is, if you have a whole bunch of projects waiting and you've fully finished all of those, it could be seen as a way of cheating the system. But at the same time, you're doing exactly what the philosophy of the SAL is about, which is helping you to take projects from whatever middle part they're in to fully finishing them, which is what we all want to do. So you get 40 points for that, and you're just counting for these last 4 categories, you're just counting the number of projects. So as you can see, I've divided on the calculator aspect side of it the number of barely started, the number of new starts, the number of finishes, and the number of fully finished objects. And you just enter that number rather than the stitch count there. For the other ones, you'll keep track of your stitch count, and so for SALs, how many stitches did you put in your SALs that month? And you can just put them in here. If you however many how many stitches you put into a challenge, you put that in here. The same thing with in-season, out-of-season stitches. The numbers you put in here will all automatically calculate how many points you get for that particular month. You can actually use this as a running total. You can update it each week or even each day. It's not going to affect anything. All of that down here will add up to your point total, and it does know how to round. I did that properly as well. So say I did, I did 2,000 stitches for that particular month. And SALs, but maybe I did say 3,700 for my challenges. Some of those were, say I did 3 projects worth, and so say I also did, I don't know, let's do 2,700 were in season, and let's see, the 3,000 of those were out of season. So right now at 395, but say one of those projects was also my oldest whip. So maybe say 1,000 of those were into my oldest whip. So suddenly I'm at 405, which is a decent number. I did have, say, a couple of new starts, but none of them were barely started. Say I had 2 of them were, I did 2 new starts. And say I did spend a little time. I finished an object that was a gift for somebody, and I fully finished another one. So say I did 2. So now I'm at 415. All this automatically calculates correctly for you. So if you had 415 for the month, you would enter that here. And it's only there where something actually magical happens here, and it'll tell you what your race or species is. That's really how that works. It automatically does that for you. Based on the point totals I have, and for each category, I think if you average between 8 and 10,000 stitches a month, you'll probably end up towards the top end of the range of points. So over, say, around 1,000. If you are a much faster stitcher than that, it was hard to balance for everybody. So I know some people do 14, 20,000 stitches in a month. I probably don't. I certainly don't have as much time to stitch that many, that much. I certainly have some days where I don't get to stitch much at all. So my stitch count is probably closer to 6,000 to 8,000 a month, maybe, at the most. But if you know you're a very prolific stitcher, you can actually adjust this. I've left these in here because I wanted to show you kind of how that works. So say I know I'm a fast stitcher, and so these categories need to be adjusted. You can actually adjust these numbers, and it'll automatically adjust the numbers you're getting here. So say for SALs, instead of the 500 threshold, say I want to make it like 700. So you can see here my point total for SALs and my point total for the month has actually gone down. The same thing for this one. So say if I also put that at 700, so right now it's 105. Now it's down to 75 points. So it's smart enough to automatically adjust for whatever stitch threshold you think you need to do based on how much you are actually stitching. I'll go ahead and put these back because that's what I kind of thought would be a good threshold. The min-max, the minimum maximum number of stitches for barely starts, if you think it should be adjusted, you can let me know. But that's kind of a judgment call on you. You can call whatever you really want to barely start. If you think it should be a lower number, if you think it should be a higher number, it's because this one is just based on the number of projects, so that's really not going to affect anything. But these you can adjust as you think you need to, based on how fast or how slow you. If you're a slower stitcher and you think you're not going to get hardly any points, say you only average around 5,000 or 6,000 stitches at most, well then you can adjust these to be a little lower. So when you copy this Google Sheet into your own account, it's going to ask you when you first open it, it's going to say there is a script associated with it, and then you need to give permission. That is a script, a Google script that I created that does some of the automation for this sheet. So you just need to accept it once, and then you won't see that message again. But it's really just, it automates some of the automation down here. There's certain things I couldn't get around getting it to do without using a Google script. So I had to spend some time kind of learning how to Google script and then create some simple scripts that do some of the things I wanted to do. So, but that's really how this particular sheet works. Once you have your score, whatever the score is in the month, you can put 415, say for the month. This will automatically update, and you'll have your first month. I'm not going to put that in there because I want everything to remain a mystery, but that's really all there is to do on that. The December works pretty much the same way, except you'll just do each week instead of the whole month. So keep track of it for the week, enter your point total into this section for trait, and you'll have a new trait, and the same thing for bond, ideal, and flaw. So that's really all there is to the sheet. As I said, you when you click on the sheet there, it'll ask if you want to make. You can go and make a copy. I'm pretty sure it'll ask you if you want to make a copy. If it doesn't, and it opens up this with a view only, you then just simply go to File, and you just click on Make a Copy, and then it'll ask you to, or you want to make a copy. You'll need to be signed into your Google account, and it'll make a copy into your Google account. But that's really all there is to the actual The actual challenge is a sheet that'll help you track and assign you points for your different things, and those you enter into the score for the month. So it's not super complicated. Like I said, you can feel free to adjust these suggested thresholds for the first 5 categories however you want. You could even adjust these and then just keep track of how many projects you have. Just enter those number of projects there. So some notes on differences between 5e. The big differences is just the December, the different traits are traits I've created. So you won't see those in any D&D books. There'll be some similarities to maybe some of the ideals or traits or whatever, but I created them myself. So other than that, if you want to give feedback on this SAL as you're going through it, or just suggestions, I'll go ahead and jump back here. There is on our page, website that I created. There on the contact us, there is a form here. So it asks you if there's any errors or typos or other issues you've seen with the Google Sheet. It'll just give you a place to answer there. I certainly appreciate any feedback. If there is any errors or problems in the sheet, please do let me know. I've tried to thoroughly test it, but even the best designer can miss something. So I appreciate any feedback on that. Down below that, there is an ask. Is there a suggestion that think I should probably do if you think I need to increase or decrease the stitch value, point values? I think those need to be adjusted. I was kind of guesstimating without actually testing it with people. It's hard to kind of know exactly, and everybody has their own speed at which they stitch. So I tried to create kind of a middle of the road type of number. Down below that, you'll see kind of I have these categories which I thought were a little more open, but if you think this would be more fun to do it as like a type of pattern, or maybe thematic, popular culture, whatever, please do suggest that. Let me know what you think. I would be happy to play around with those as well. You could also change the type in that of categories in the first 5. That really won't affect how the points work at all, but if you think that would be fun, please let me know. I know I had at least one suggestion for people who were interested in a Deadlands character, RPG character creation challenge. I'm familiar a little bit with Deadlands. I don't actually have the book for it, but if there's enough interest, I certainly would be happy to go and create a Deadlands challenge. But I've listed some other systems here as well, and if there's something else on here that you don't list, some systems aren't. They wouldn't work as well with this kind of a sheet. Like the Fate system, for instance, is one I'm thinking of. The character creation in that system is really more communal because you're creating characters at the same time with each other, and you're creating relationships between the characters. That doesn't work as well for this kind of a sheet, I don't think. But so just let me know if there's any other systems you think. If you want a response, please give me a way to contact you. I'd be happy to respond if there's questions or other concerns that you want me to address. So that is the feedback form. So I hope everybody has fun with this challenge. It was a lot of fun to work on this. It took me a little longer than I expected because I had to learn some Google scripting, and I'm working also between my full-time job and then also my part-time teaching job and schooling. Don't always have as much time to work on these kind of things as I would like, but I did get it created, and I think the next one, if I create, will probably be a little bit quicker since I'll have something to kind of base it on. There's other fun challenges going on that are RPG related. I know Steph at Wild Fox Stitchery is doing a fun SAL. It's called Threadwalker, which I'm actually going to be taking part in. She has a Facebook group that you can join to get the sheets for that. But definitely check that out and check out her channel. She's really got a lot of fun projects she's working on. But the challenge itself looks like it's a lot of fun. So I'm definitely going to be taking part in that as well. I've got the PDFs that she created for it, and I just need to create my character and get ready to get going on that. But if you have any other questions or comments, please do let me know. If you like this challenge and like this video, please do give us a like and subscribe, and just let me know. I appreciate any feedback you give me. And yeah, so I will be back with Melanie in our usual Flosstube. Probably be creating that in a few days with her, so because it'll be the beginning of December. So, and I will also be attending the Jingle Ball, which is next weekend. So, if you have any feedback for me that you just want to tell me and you see me around there, just let me know. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing any of you who are there, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.